1915 AD, 5809 AM. World War I continues unabated. Britain and Germany fight a series of naval battles and German U-boats terrorise the Atlantic. The Germans announce to European nations and to the United States that they will attack any vessels travelling to aid Britain in the war. The US knows this, knows that German spies know that they have loaded the British liner Lusitania with war munitions and supplies in an American harbour. The Lusitania is sunk by a German U-boat submarine off Ireland's coast, killing 1,198 people, 128 of them being Americans. As so often is done by the United States, incidents at sea are fabricated to incite the American people to war. Unfortunately for Alfred Vanderbilt of Gainesville, Texas, he died aboard the Lusitania after having had a ticket for the Titanic that he had missed due to a late arrival. The Germans and French engaged in the Battle of Verdun, the longest World War I conflict that resulted in 550,000 French casualties and 434,000 German casualties. Alfred Wegener published his Pangaea theory about continental drift and the prehistoric supercontinent. Professor Barnard studied the strange region of space around the constellation Cepheus and discovered a vast black object near the star Algol, the ghoul or blinking demon. Algol was considered by the ancients to be the most evil of all stars. Cepheus is located in the northern circumpolar sphere, far off the ecliptic, and Algol is one of the very hottest stars, a blue-white dwarf approximately 36,000 degrees. Algol is the eye of Medusa. Professor Barnard witnessed a vast dark object that later he described as a dark nebula, after he was scorned by the astronomical community. In 1915 there was no knowledge of dark stars, compressed or frozen stars and black holes. Modern astronomers are convinced that our Sun has a twin, many calling her a dark star, Nemesis. This 1915 AD date parallels the 1915 BC year of the appearance of the Anunnaki planet Nibiru, remembered in Egypt and the Near East as Typhon. In 1915 the Ku Klux Klan re-emerges in America in the state of Georgia. 1. Book of the Damned. 2. The Atlas of the Constellations. 3. 20th Century Events. 1916 AD, 5810 AM. The British Army launches a major offensive in the First Battle of Somme, and in the first day of the battle suffers 57,470 casualties against the Germans, 19,240 of these men dying. Germany announces that it is ready to conclude peace, but the Allies refuse. On September 29th, J.D. Rockefeller becomes the world's first billionaire. The British Expeditionary Force sent to the continent to aid their French allies at Mons were on the verge of collapse from hunger, exhaustion and decimation. After news reached England of their plight, the Germans steadily pressing against them, English King George V called for a national day of prayer and fasting. The call evidently did not go unheeded in heaven. During the height of the fighting amidst the battle that was sure to be won by the Germans, the machine gun fire and cannons suddenly stopped, vehicles stopped and mortars were silenced. A silence prevailed, causing the badly pressed British and French holdouts to emerge from their trenches to stand in awe of the sight before them. Moving rapidly away, the German army was retreating, leaving behind weapons and vehicles. Captured German officers were found terrified, describing tall men wearing all white that suddenly appeared and advanced against them, strange men who were unhurt by their guns and cannons. The incident that saved the British Expeditionary Force has since been called the Angels of Mons. In the Second Battle of Somme, the French and Germans engaged in a battle that resulted in 1 million casualties. Russian aviator Vladimir Rokovitsky, stationed in a small unit camp 25 miles from Mount Ararat, saw a huge dark structure half submerged in a meltwater lake toward the summit of Mount Ararat in Turkey, a unique mountain having a plateau at 12,000 feet elevation. Thinking this colossal object looked like a large submarine, and knowing that this conclusion in itself was ridiculous because of its location, he flew over the site many times and discovered it to be a gigantic ship designed as if it was intended for huge ocean waves to roll right over it. He declared that it was as large as a modern battleship, as long as a city block, and with distinct catwalks. It had an immense doorway on its side, and the great structure was damaged, half submerged in a snow-surrounded lake. He later flew his commanding officer to the site, one in search of Noah's Ark.